Okay, with Kimberly Lawton, the specials is the stage play, winning stage play. Really interesting stage play. Like I'm glad that you submit to us. It's really nice stage play. I hope it does well for you. It's a film about it's a play about loneliness, which is I think it's universal. I think we all kind of have different feelings of it, and your characters, every character has a different kind of impression about how they deal with it. I guess, right?
Yeah, it does. And I think loneliness became a bigger topic even after COVID.
Yeah.
Um, different people I've talked to have dealt with it in different ways, and that feeling of isolation. I think for people who may have been prone to, mental illness or having other issues with anxiety, that added pressure of COVID made everything a little bit worse. So yeah.
Is that when you came up with this kind of idea for this play?
It
During
was, yeah. I talked to a friend of mine, and she had struggled with that feeling of loneliness, and coming out of COVID was really tough for her. Going out in the public, and especially when she didn't wear a mask, that was very upsetting for her. And I remember thinking at the
when
time
she
that,
did when she didn't wear a mask.
yeah, when she
Yeah.
didn't, it became sort of
It-
socially acceptable not to wear them anymore.
yeah.
And I think that even when she went out with a mask on, it kind of felt like a little bit of a barrier to her. And then when that was taken away, it was a struggle to get back to life, I guess. And that's where Lewis kind of came from, is just someone who really is a good person at the heart of it, and struggles with friendships and struggles with being out in society, general society.
So it's like one of those things where like everything you got to practice at, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Writing, playing the piano, like but interacting with people. Like it's
Yeah.
you gotta if you're not doing it in a long time, then more anxiety, more fear comes out of that.
Exactly. And I think anything, like you say, anything's an art. So conversations in art,
Mm.
writing in art. And like you said, anything takes practice. And when you don't have that, it's difficult. I've got adult children, and my oldest, she finished university the last couple of years during COVID. So she kind of missed out on a huge amount of the university experience,
Yeah.
right? So all of that stuff, these big milestones that people can miss just from being lonely and not being able to, you know, come out and talk to people.
So it's almost like a disease in a sense, where like the longer you're lonely, the harder it is to get back
It
without
is.
being lonely.
Yeah, and I think communication is a tough thing. I was just talking today with my other daughter about, senior citizens. We were on the way to pick up my mom, and she's a senior, and we were talking about, women and men, and I think men struggle with that even more so. A lot of husbands, their friends become the husbands of their wife's friends, which is what my husband's friend circle is. But a lot of men in particular, I think, kind of don't make friends as easily as women do.
Really? You think so?
I do. Yeah, I do. And I think there's a lot of studies that kind of back that up. They talk about men who are seniors don't do as well as women who are seniors because they don't have that circle of friends. They're not used to, reaching out and maintaining those contacts.
Because I always like felt like boys like or someone like who's uh they had more like places to go in terms of like say sports or like activities so then they can bond more if they have a there's a central bonding mechanism meaning that they can throw a ball they like baseball so they can all kind of bond towards that
Mhm.
activity I guess right
Yeah, and I think that's true when they're younger. I don't know if that continues for all
yeah
men who are, as they get older. And I think if you don't keep that up, if you don't maintain that contact, and again, we go back to that same idea of practicing, right? If you lose that kind of that human communication skill, that's a really tough thing to learn. Past a certain age, it's very difficult because you have all these different things swimming around your head, and when you throw anxiety into it, and maybe social awkwardness, all this stuff becomes a little bit worse.
yeah like that's what I mean like where you have like one thing in common it's easier to interact so you discuss what you're doing instead of discussing something
Exactly.
organically I guess right.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it's funny you said that you said that men this of course you're being general, but men become
Yeah.
friends with their wife's girlfriend's husband, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be what's happened with my circle of girlfriends. All of our husbands kind
Yeah.
of have become friends because we've made them. We put them in that position of becoming friends.
It seems like now, like you become, depends where you are, but you become friends with your kids' parents.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Well, I can kind of look at our social, our groups of
Sorry,
friends.
your kids' friends' parents, I should say. You're not your
Yeah,
kids' parents,
exactly.
but your kids' friends' parents. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I kind of look at my how we pick up friends. I've still got friends from elementary school. I've still got friends from high school, um, jobs in the past, but I've picked up friends from sports my kids played, from activities my kids were involved in.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you tend to pick up people that way.
because you're just that's what you have in common, I guess, right? And that's who you're spending time with, right? So
Exactly. But imagine someone who has anxiety and is not able to go out. You don't have the commonality with someone. I think, in the play I talk about Lewis is almost grasping for something to talk about. And, your grandfather did the same thing my grandfather did. Obviously, we have a connection, which
yeah,
is such a strange thing to have a connection to. But he's grasping for anything to feel like he belongs in that moment.
yeah. And now just to bring it even further is that now we like I realize too, because what I do for a living, I'm just personalizing this, but
Mhm.
I've been working at home for a long time, and I realized after a while, it's like, wait a minute, it's like I all my friends back then were like people I worked with,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
And then if you like people, so people like now are like I've been working at home for a while, but people working at home, they don't have those friendships anymore because they're working at home, right?
They don't, yeah. And there was one of my colleagues where I work. He was talking about, he learned a lot from working around this particular manager. And he said, I'm the manager I am today because I listened to how he interacted with people. I was around him. I could hear how he interacted with customers on the phone. And when people started working from home more, I feel like that's just an aspect that people learn, like that is gone now. That kind of learning by osmosis around you. I think that's gone for a lot of people who work from home.
Gotcha. All right, so tell me, so this is a stage play, like you said, this is a stage play?
It is. It's a stage play. It all takes place in an Italian restaurant over a series of dinners over probably the span of about a year and a half in total. So these two people they're there for different reasons. They both are suffering with loneliness for different reasons, and they end up in this very unlikely friendship that continues over a series of dinners.
And so what's your experience writing stage plays before this one?
I love theater. So when I was in high school, of course, I was involved in theater company, and we did a lot of work with writing plays at that point. Then I had children and took a long break from writing, way too long. Like women don't do that. Don't take such a long time.
Yeah.
Keep Carve out some time for yourself. I never did that. So I'm sort of circling back to what I really enjoy. And a number of years ago, a friend of mine who I went to high school with, she had this inkling to start a literary society. So I became one of the founding board members. And one of our first events was something we call Killer Verse. And it was a Halloween event where we did short stories and poetry and things like that. And we acted it out on stage, and it just reignited this love of writing things for the stage. So after Killer Verse, I did a Christmas event that the city of Delta co-sponsored, and now I've got a couple of finished pieces and we're bringing the specials to stage this year, which is going to be really exciting. And then a couple other things, and including a musical. I've got a musical that I'm actually working on, so I've got several projects.
So do you obviously want this to show this somewhere as a play?
Yeah, we're actually gonna put it on through the Delta Literary Arts Society. We've already cast the two main
Oh,
characters, and
wow.
we're
Okay.
actually do a table read at the in the beginning of March 8th, I think, we're having our table read. So yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
And you're directing it or
I'm trying not to direct it, but we're actually talking to somebody else, so we might get another director to do it. I don't know. I could direct it. I think I'm a little bit too close to these characters. Um, I don't know. I feel a bit strange directing a full play. I've directed Killerverse a couple of years in a row. Some of those stories are on YouTube. We actually recorded those and posted those. So I directed a couple of years of Killerverse, but most of that work was not mine. Those were other authors, and I feel like it's always interesting to me to give it to another director and have them read it and see something. There were a couple pieces where a few of us read it and we all got something totally different out of it. So I feel like a different director could bring something different to it. And I have such a, in my head, I have such a visual idea of what I want to see. I almost think I'd be too demanding to direct it. Maybe I'm too close to it. I don't know.
Wow, that's you don't hear that often.
Yeah, I know. People like to control it. I know. I know.
Yeah. Well, there's like it's like the theory. It's like they call it the 5% theory, right? Where even more, where like the director's going to make something better, but they could also make it worse too, right? So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
but it's all about the right person who kind of like it's something that speaks to them. But
Yeah, I mean, I would hope they would, if they did had a question, they would ask me. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, we're doing the table read with the two actors that we've cast in it.
yeah,
We've got people that are behind us, so I think it's going to be really fun to put it on stage.
like tone wise, like how do you see the play,
Tone wise,
like from a genre standpoint, like just like
yeah, I mean, there are funny bits in it for
yeah,
sure. Um, is it like a dramedy? I'm not sure. It's a drama, I think, more than anything. I think like I said, there are funny bits in it, but I really think it's more about a relationship drama. I think that's really what it is. What a friend of mine read it for me, mostly to do a read for spelling and grammar and things like
yeah,
making sure it was punctuated properly. And they actually thought when it started out, they said, "Oh, I thought for sure this was going to be a romantic comedy." And I said, "No, no, no, nothing like that. Nothing like
yeah.
that." I think that would have been, it would not have been true to the characters. I think that both of them have a lot more work to do on themselves. And I think it's not the right direction for either one of them. But yeah, I see it's a relationship drama, I guess.
Yeah, well, because like in a lot of plays and a lot of films and a lot of TV shows where two damaged people get together and it's like it's kind of unrealistic in a sense where like
It is. It
it,
is. If
life doesn't work that way, right?
It
So
doesn't. Yeah, and if you're too damaged, and I think Lewis in particular is too damaged. Um, I think if you're too damaged, you're just not ready for that. And I think Laura's farther along the track of healing than he is. And I don't think that if you're in the middle of dealing with your own anxiety, your own drama, your own damage, that you should be dragging someone else along who's damaged as well. It doesn't generally work out. It's not true. It's very rare.
there's something interesting you said in the blog interview. You said, I think resilience is always something that speaks to audiences. And you're right, right? Where they want that arc, but it's the arc that like makes someone fight their fears and become better. It's like a classic arc, character arc as in storytelling, right?
Yeah, and I think too, for me, there a lot of the movies that speak to me when I watch them or plays that speak to me. The resilience doesn't have to come from a perfect ending, and I don't think either one of them has a perfect ending.
Yeah.
And I think that's more true to life anyway, right? Like we all have to find that strength inside us to get through whatever we're going through. So I like it when resilience is a little less perfect than it can be in movies, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's like the people like the Hollywood ending, I guess, right?
They,
Where,
yeah.
but,
In 90 minutes we can fix everything and tie the whole thing up in a bow.
or if it's a sitcom in 22 minutes, right? So,
Exactly. Exactly.
but so okay, so you write plays, you're writing. I heard that you're writing a novel as well.
I am. Yeah, the novel is totally different. It's something I've been working on for a little while. It's completely different. It's something that I don't generally write. For the most part, I've written a lot of short stories and then some stage work. But the novel is completely different. It's sort of a young adult, I guess, young adult fantasy, I suppose.
Well, there's definitely an audience for that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I've got two daughters, so we've been through all of them.
So, what you said, one's a university and one's like in high school. Or?
she's out of university now. They're both adults. So I've got one daughter who works in the film industry. She is a studio facility coordinator, and then my other daughter is a high school teacher. So say a prayer for her.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh,
Say a prayer. You said say a
yeah.
prayer.
She teaches. She's working with teenagers.
Yeah. It's an interesting time for teenagers.
It is, and going back to that loneliness and what COVID has done to people, you're really seeing that in schools. I think you're really seeing that in even new graduates. People are struggling with that kind of that year or
I think
two up.
it's the phones more than anything.
It's what, sorry?
Phones more than anything. Like the
It,
like
the
the
attention
addiction to
span.
our phones.
Yeah, the attention span is so different. I mean, we're really training kids to have these brief moments of attention, between TikTok videos and Instagram and whatever. They're used to having these really smaller bits. When I was in school, we had the essay exam. I don't know if you ever had that, but we had it out in British Columbia where you'd have to write an essay in the span of 3 hours. And they give you all these different topics you'd have to choose from. And they were kind of lame topics, like my grade 12 one, I think, what was the greatest invention of the 20th century. But my daughter said we could never give teenagers that kind of task now. They couldn't do it on a whole. They just would not be able to finish that task. They could not write an essay in 3 hours. They would break attention.
That's not good.
No, it's not good.
By the way, what was the greatest invention of the 20th century?
Well, I always go, okay, I don't actually believe this, but I always go with the humorous slant to things. So I actually chose waterproof mascara. And I had all kinds of examples as to why this was super important to life. And my English, because you end up writing it and you're anonymous when you write it. So the teachers that are grading it, they don't know who wrote it. And my English teacher came up to me in the hallway and he said, I knew it was you right away.
But what, like, seriously, but what is the greatest?
Oh, what is the greatest invention? Gosh, I mean, the most impactful, I think, has probably been the computer. Obviously, it's changing everything.
Yeah.
I work for an engineering firm, so like automation is just, computer has advanced everything. I would probably say that would be the greatest invention, um, most impactful, perhaps.
I always think that like maybe the radio because the radio sets up the computer. But
Yeah, yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean,
um
anything that improves communication, and
yeah,
think with computer, if you go through radio then television, or rather film first, so radio, film, and television and computer, we now see the world in a whole different way that we certainly didn't get before.
yeah.
For the first time we all got to watch a war happen on live television. I mean, just insanity, just crazy things we can actually see now. So
Okay, so they you don't think that they could do I don't know, maybe I'm optimistic. They should be able to do that. But I think it's more about like the communication, meaning that there's a blockage with the texting and it's like they don't have to talk to people anymore.
yeah, that's
Right?
true. That's true. I remember when my kids had a bunch of friends over and they were all in one room watching a movie, and I was thinking, man, it's quiet out there. Like, I'm still out, so quiet.
Yeah.
And
On the
they were
phones?
texting each other sitting in the same room.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a shock to me. I just never expected to see that.
Yeah. That's
And
what's
I talked to
happening.
friends and they all had the same experience. They said, oh yeah, it happens all the time. Or they're playing games and they communicate on games. Like if they're playing a game online, they're talking to each other through these games. So it's different. Certainly different than when I was a teenager.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I think that's setting up the anxiety and the
Yeah.
because you got to fight your like we talk about fear. We were talking in the beginning about fears,
Yeah.
like fighting your fears, and sometimes you just have to go. You have to sometimes have to have conflicts with people, or you have to approach people that you don't know, and it's
Yeah.
like that. That makes you stronger, and that fights your anxieties, right?
Yeah, it does. And if you aren't capable of doing that, that's super problematic, right? So you get these people who are unable to speak now, or ask a question or go up to someone, or yeah, it's I don't know. It is worrisome. It is worrisome for sure.
Well, I'm glad that I'm excited that you're play gets to be made and produced, it's that must be exciting for you.
I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. I cannot wait to see these characters on stage. I'm very, very excited.
And then so you're working on the novel, and like have you ever written screenplays before, like a screenplay before?
Yeah, I actually just finished one. So I'm gonna going through it right now to do like a final edit on it, and then I'll be trying to submit that. And I also entered another um, I don't know opportunity with Wild Sound as well to for a short screenplay. I entered that as well. So yeah,
Oh wow.
I really I enjoy. I don't know. My girlfriend and I talk about this. We just like making things for people to experience, like art. You know, getting out there and just kind of being part of that. So I'm really enjoying this.
But it sounds like the floodgates, the creative floodgates have opened for you.
They have, and it's probably they've been turned off for a long time. You get into being a mom and taking care of kids and having a career where you have to support your kids, and
Yeah,
some things have to give. And now I'm just kind of turning right around and getting right back into it, and I'm loving it.
that's amazing. And yeah, because now they're adults and they seem to be both, your daughters seem to both doing well.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
So you
yeah.
must have done something right.
I hope so.
Well, I wish you the best. Again, let me know when the things your play's produced, and yeah, it's I'm excited because I think it's a great play.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thanks. Let's talk again when we showcase another piece of your work again.
Absolutely.